the average adult in America has been found to have 700 toxins in them, and our immune systems simply were not built to support that type of toxic load. They interfere with cellular communication. They prevent absorption of nutrients. We are literally seeing chronic diseases just blowing through the roof, and we have the answer for it. It attaches to toxins, heavy metals, glyphosate, pesticides, absolutely everything. It leaves all the good stuff there. It does not attach to magnesium, potassium, all the good minerals. In fact, it's loaded with electrolytes, has 40 vitamins and minerals. It's building your blood. It's nourishing your immune system. It's nourishing your gut biome. You're cheating yourself out of a great longevity health hack by not taking spirulina or chlorella algae.
So, Catherine, we were just talking offline about the benefits of what we're going to be discussing today in terms of energy, beauty, and longevity. 3 things I'm enormously excited to talk to you about. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And I can't wait to share with your community and you all these benefits and more from spirulina and chlorella algae tablets. The first life on Earth, by the way, 4 billion years ago, which is a whole another story, what we'll get into. I tell people it's something spiritual about spirulina because it's a cyanobacteria, and a cyanobacteria was the first life on Earth, not just the first plant. So I now call spirulina spiritualina for that reason.
Spirulina. I love it. I love it. I'm going to be calling it spirulina, I think, after this. And you are testament, by the way, to A, the energy, and B, the beauty. I mean, it's just incredible looking at you in terms of like your vibrancy, your skin health. Like we were chatting, I literally thought you were at least 20 years younger. So this is testament to what we're going to talk about.
Yes, and I've been taking algae daily for the 15 years I have been on this path, and it is my path. It's my spiritual path. It's my spirulina path for sure. Getting this out to the world, and I can't wait to share how international agencies, scientists, they've known all of this for 50 to 100 years, but the knowledge has not been shared outside of Asia, where they take it every day and have for 60 years. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So 100,000 studies done, right, on the benefits of algae, and the UN and NASA, I read, have termed it the most nutrient-dense food on the planet. Tell us more about the magnificence of algae.
I know. Well, as I mentioned, it's first life on Earth, and it's still here, so it's obviously doing something right. And the quote from United Nations, let's start there. They had a global conference on spirulina, and you can go online and find the proceedings. 50 years ago, it was 1974, so 51, and declared spirulina the answer to world hunger. Then, 50 years ago, because it has the highest concentration of protein in the world. It's 3 times the amount of protein as steak or chicken or fish. Ours is 64% protein, and it's bioavailable protein, virtually 99.9% bioavailable. And we'll talk about that later on. And NASA here in America has been feeding spirulina and chlorella algae to their astronauts for 50 years as well. Why? Because we have a quote from them saying that algae has 1,000 times more nutrition than any other food or plant vegetable in the world, 1 to 1,000. And I'll explain why that is possible, because I'm going to back up and explain what algae is, and then we'll go into some of the differences between the two of them, because they do deliver different benefits. So algae is a food crop. It's its own category. And there are 2 main categories. One is macroalgae, and the other one is microalgae. We're going to be talking about microalgae today, but let me explain what macroalgae is first. It's that stringy stuff that you see washing up on shore, also known as seaweed or dulse or kelp. Now, it's still good for you because it comes from the sea, so it has iodine, which if you're looking for iodine, it's a good source. And it's loaded with fiber, which is good for you. But it's virtually zero nutrition. So high fiber, zero nutrition, and only from the sea, and that's why it's called seaweed. And there's only a few strains of it. Brown, red, Microalgae is called microalgae because it's microscopic in size. It is so tiny you can't see it with your eye. You could get something like 1 million microalgae on the head of a pin. This is why the nutritional concentration is so massive. When you consolidate all those tiny little microalgae, you start to see where the nutrition is coming from. Now, it is completely different from macroalgae. A, it's microscopic, so you can't see it. B, it either has zero fiber. Spirulina is a bacteria. It's a cyanobacteria. Zero fiber, and I'll explain why that's good news in a minute. Zero fiber or virtually little fiber. Chlorella, which is the other microalgae we'll talk about, does have a little bit of fiber. So virtually zero or no fiber, but the most concentrated nutrition in the world. Completely opposite to macroalgae, which has high fiber, no nutrition, microalgae, high nutrition, zero fiber. And microalgae is everywhere. It's not just in the sea. It's in the soil, it's in the rivers, the lakes, the streams, your aquarium, your swimming pool. It's everywhere. And there are tens of thousands of strains of microalgae, again, comparing to macroalgae where there's only a handful. Microalgae, a couple of the strains are known as blue-green algae or green algae. They're the ones that are best known. And one strain of blue-green algae is spirulina, and one strain of chlorella, green algae, is chlorella. And the reason I want to point this out is because lots of times you'll go online and you'll read about a blue-green algae bloom closing your favorite beach and it's toxic. We're not talking about spirulina. It's just another strain of blue-green algae. And by the way, poor old algae gets the bum rap because it shows up in beaches or water areas because it's the cleanup crew. Algae kills bacteria and absorbs toxins. It does it in the beaches and it does it in your body too. So you couldn't see the bacteria or the toxins in the water, but you can see the algae. So you think algae is the bad boy. It's actually as I say, the good stuff. It's doing the job for the beaches, for the environment, and for you. And we'll get to that as one of the benefits. So spirulina is one blue-green algae and is the one that most people know about. Fewer people know about chlorella, and it's a green algae. And they are completely different and they do completely different things in your body. Now, in addition to these microalgae like spirulina and chlorella being everywhere, lakes, rivers, streams, and soil, they are also harvested as an agricultural crop. And this is where people completely misunderstand what algae is, because everybody, you can go to, here in America, you can go to Target or Whole Foods or your local department store, probably in the health food section, and buy spirulina and chlorella tablets. And they think of them as supplements. But when you grow algae and package it as we do in these tablets, which by the way we call bits because they're bits of food, it's not a supplement. In fact, if you look at our packaging, we don't have a supplement panel on the back. We have a nutritional panel because it's food. Even the FDA considers algae food. All those other supplements, collagen powder, powder mixes, those are all supplements, not algae. It is a food. And what I'm showing you is a picture of two algae farms. One is a spirulina farm and one is a chlorella farm. So when you buy algae tablets from us or from anywhere, you're not buying a supplement. You are buying a dried food. And what makes us special and what makes us better than most of the other algae tablets is, first of all, ours are grown in Taiwan. I do have plans to grow it here in America, probably in Florida, which is where we are based now. Excuse me. Taiwan, when growing algae isn't like growing broccoli or carrots. It's more like making wine. So number one, the angle of the sun really affects the high quality nutritional value of the algae. Number two, just like wine, the production processes determine so much of the quality of the wine and also with the algae. So what makes us special is that, first of all, we grow it in triple filtered spring mountain water. So there are no toxins. You don't ever want algae from the ocean because you cannot control a wild body of water, whether it's a lake or an ocean, because there are mycotoxins and algae will absorb what's ever in the water. There's a company couple of companies that grow algae in Klamath Lake here in the United States, and I have scientific papers and that prove there are mycotoxins in their algae because you can't keep it out of wild bodies of water. We do third-party lab tests here in the United States because we sell only through our website, ENERGYbits.com, or through doctors' offices, longevity clinics. And so they need to know that the nutritional value is what we say it is. And we also do another set of tests for toxins and heavy metals. And we do another lab test for mycotoxins. And we never have mycotoxins because we're growing it in very, very fresh water. Then we dry it into a powder. And this is where this is really what distinguishes us from everybody else. Almost all the other algae tablets that are low priced are grown in India or China. And these are companies that have lots of other products and they're profit driven naturally. And so they cut corners because they need to sell more because they're lower priced. So what do? They use high heat to dry their algae. Why this is so important, and we do not, and we never have. And the importance of this is when we get to the mitochondrial health and brain health and get into some of the benefits, you'll realize that high heat, or maybe you already know this, kills enzymes. And some of these really critical nutrients, there's one, an antioxidant, has a long name. It's called, superoxide dismutase, which stops free radical damage of your mitochondria. It is also an enzyme. So when you use high heat to dry your algae, you are deactivating that particular antioxidant. I tell people it's like buying a beautiful car that doesn't have an engine. Looks great, can't do anything. So if you use high heat, you miss this critical attribute of protecting your brain and your mitochondria from free radical damage. And there's also a pigment. We'll talk about this in a minute. In spirulina, it's a blue pigment. That's why it's called a blue-green algae, because spirulina has two pigments in it. The blue one, which is called phycocyanin, and I'll spell that for you later, starts with a PH. That blue pH pigment has amazing healing properties, which are proven in science. One of them is it kills cancer cells. Absolutely slam dunk, proven. And the chemotherapy companies use phycocyanin in their treatments now, and I can explain the pathway and how this all works. But it also is deactivated by high heat, and I have the scientific papers that prove that. So when you're buying the lesser quality, lower priced algae tablets, you aren't getting half of the most powerful benefits in algae. Yes, you'll get some protein, and yes, you'll get some other nutrients, but you're missing these really critical things. You could, however, get raw or frozen spirulina, and it will deliver the same results as ours does, because it also has not been exposed to high heat. And there are healing centers here in America. One people may know of called the Hippocrates Institute. Another one is called the Gershon Institute. These are places that treat very, very sick individuals with stage 3 and 4 cancers and have a 95% healing rate, a success rate. And one of the first things they do, and the thing they give to them every single day that they're at their treatment center, is raw, fresh spirulina. And I know it's because of these healing properties that we're going to be talking about, but you get them in ours as well, because it's a raw food, not exposed to high heat. And so we are an unprocessed foods, and people who are from the United States know there's just been a presidential election and a change in the administration. And one of the big issues that Robert J. Kennedy Jr. is going to be addressing is how our food supply in America is so damaged and full of toxins, and we're basically poisoning people. Finding nutrient-dense, safe, pure nutrition is almost impossible to find, but you'll get it from at least from ours, our spirulina and chlorella, because it's grown so carefully, it's nutrient-dense, it's a raw, unprocessed foods, we don't use high heat, and then we press them into these little tablets that we affectionately call bits, because they are bits of food. It's a whole food, unprocessed whole food, safe for every single age group, your pets, and it's the most nutrient-dense food in the world, but it is food. And as you're going to find, like, these tablets are about the size of baby aspirin, maybe a teeny bit bigger, and I eat them all day long. One tablet has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. One tablet. So if you don't like vegetables, if you're traveling, if they give you gas, if you don't have time, you don't like the fact that they go bad quickly, your kids won't eat them, your husbands won't eat them, here is your answer. We generally recommend 10 spirulina tablets in the morning as a recommended amount to fill nutritional gaps. And we'll talk about this later on as well. For therapeutic amounts, so if you're battling any kind of health condition, whether it's dementia, depression, heart issue, cancer, gut issue, if you want to correct anything, 30 tablets would be appropriate. There is no upper limit to taking spirulina or chlorella algae because it's food. You can't eat too much salad. You can't have too many spirulina or chlorella. We fuel NHL teams. They put 75 spirulina in their smoothie before a game because they want lots of energy and focus on the ice. And then they take 75 chlorella tablets after the game to pull out the lactic acid, because chlorella detoxes you. But we'll get into the differences between the two algae. But that's sort of an overview of the why it's food, why it's so critical at this juncture where we are literally seeing chronic diseases just blowing through the roof, and we have the answer for it, and it's been here for 4 billion years, scientifically documented, but not explained and not understood.
Wow, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. Thank you for that intro. I think we definitely got a really good overview of it. A couple of things I want to pick up on then, because I think these are really important. So just so I'm clear, so algae grown, in fact, that is in the ocean is likely to be full of toxins because it accumulates toxins, and is also present in the ocean, right, to help combat some of that. Presumably it would also have problems with microplastics in that situation as well, would it? That would be also a risk factor.
Right. That's why it's the only food that I can think of that you don't want grown wild. Mushrooms, everything we know natural, but because the algae absorbs whatever's in the water, you have to be growing it in a controllable environment. Now, I'm a purist and I like algae grown outside. And as I showed you, it's grown in these, what they're called ponds, but they're effectively hydroponic farms. But there's another technique, and I'm exploring this as well. And I'm going to, when I grow my algae farms or build mine here in Florida, I'm going to do both two ways, because there's a new technique, and this is truly the answer for long-term feeding of the world. And what you do is you grow it indoors in glass tubes with effectively LED lights, and you can build these farms underground. There's a couple of companies in Iceland that this is how they grow spirulina underground, 5 floors of these glass tubes, and they use the spirulina for omega-3. This one company extracts the protein and donates it to African countries. So, and then there's another company that we're in conversation with, was one in Spain, and there's one in actually Austria that is also growing them in tubes, very large tubes, but vertically and above ground in enclosures, sort of like greenhouses. So we're exploring both, and the benefit of these is that very controlled environment. It's in glass, so no environmental toxins possible, and that truly is the future for algae. It gives you 90% of the benefits and the nutrients that you get from outdoor growing, and 90% is good enough for feeding the world and for large scale production. So my goal is to experiment with both here in America, but it is important people understand it's food. It's not a supplement.
It's food. And you were showing a photograph there of one tablet. You're advising 10, or if you have a problem of removal, 30, and then with athletes, you're using more. But one tablet is equivalent in terms of its nutrients to a plate of vegetables. Just to kind of zoom in a little bit on that. Is that any vegetables or abundance of vegetables? Like, how are you able to make that comparison?
Yeah. Well, I was using the quote we have, and I can send you the document where the quote comes from NASA. It says 1 gram of algae equals the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits or vegetables. And so I just took the weight of our bags that we sell them in bags and canisters. The large bags are the best value. There's 1,000 tablets, and I think it weighs 9 grams or something. And I just did the math, and I went down through the math. Well, how much it is, because one bag of our algae tablets, I'll just show you a picture of it. with 1,000 tablets, it worked out to the nutrition of 551 pounds of vegetables. And so when I, did the math on that, it works out to about 3/4 of a pound. So that picture I showed with the vegetables on a plate was sort of the equivalent of 3/4 of a pound of vegetables. But it's stunning to think that there's so much, like this equals about 30 grocery carts of food nutritionally. And by the way, what vegetable can last 3 years? Our expiry date is 3 years on these bags, and technically they never go bad, by the way. Highest concentration of chlorophyll, highest concentration of protein, over 40 vitamins and minerals. A book that maybe your community knows better than here in America. I just finished the book by Chris Van Tolken, Ultra Processed People, and he talks about how food has literally, 2,500 nutrients, and we're only measuring a few of them. And this is why, again, food, particularly spirulina, is so advantageous, because it has all the factors and cofactors and enzymes and coenzymes that you never get when you take individual supplements. Lots of people are supplementing, but I say taking individual supplements is like listening to a bunch of grade 3 soloists, each playing a different piece of music. And when you take algae, Mother Nature has crafted all of this for us. I can't take credit for algae. I can take credit for growing it safely and carefully, so we preserve all the nutrients Mother Nature put in there for you. But it's like listening to an orchestra. When you have individual instruments, maybe they sound okay, but they don't harmonize it like you would with an orchestra. And so this is why the bioavailability is so high, because all of these other components are already included. We only measure a piece of them. But so the nutrient value is measured by, is based on that quote from NASA. And then trying to help people visualize what that looks like. I tried to, break it down into some, something simple like a plate of vegetables. So that's
Super
where I came
helpful.
up with that one.
Yeah, super helpful and very, very impressive. I mean, it's very nutrient dense. Let's talk about the differences between spirulina and chlorella, because I was looking into this a little bit and how chlorella can help kind of build your blood and is good at removing toxins. And spirulina, I think you and I were chatting actually about this offline, about how it's a really good source of essential fatty acids, but also protein.
Yes.
People might, lump the two together. Can you just summarize and sort of describe for our audience the differences between spirulina and chlorella?
Sure. So spirulina, again, is a blue-green algae, and it is considered a cyanobacteria, so it has no cellulose wall. And the reason why that's important to know is that there's nothing for your body to break down to get access to all the nutrients we're going to talk about and what it does for you. It's 99%, 99.9% bioavailable. And what is spirulina's biggest claim to fame? Is that it's energizing. It's energizing to your brain, to your body, to your mitochondria. And that's why we called our spirulina ENERGYbits, because we wanted to help communicate what it does. And it comes in a blue packaging. We have canisters and whatever, because it's a blue-green algae. Although we do have a second spirulina called Beauty Bits, and I'll explain how that came about. So you get the energy in two ways. One is it has this very high concentration of protein, which is already in amino acid form. It has 18 of the 20 aminos, including the 9 your body can't make. So it's a complete protein. So that's one thing you need to know about. And then it's loaded with B vitamins that convert the aminos into energy in the moment. But more importantly, it has nutrients in it that we'll talk about later on when we get into the mitochondria that feed and protect the mitochondria, because ultimately your energy comes from your mitochondria. They generate what's called cellular energy, and it's known as something called ATP. And so, and ATP is like the electricity that keeps a building functioning. You can't do any work if you don't have any lights on, right? So think of your mitochondria as your lights in your body, which is the building. And not only are they the lights, they're also the electricity that fuels the lights. And as you get older, and we'll talk about this, your mitochondria get damaged and become more dysfunctional, which gives you fewer lights. And as you age, your lights go out, and this is what leads to fatigue and brain fog and weight gain and metabolic issues and sleep disorders, because your mitochondria, your number of your lights are just lowered. And we'll talk about the nutrients that are in spirulina that can turn those lights back on, bring back your mitochondria, and give you literally in your brain first and foremost. So first is the nutrients, the protein, the aminos that can get converted by the B vitamins. But I want to help people understand that it's not a stimulant. Stimulants that give you energy are like sugar, caffeine, and chemicals. And what they do is they speed up molecules, but you get a rush and a crash. It's sort of like putting paper on a fire. When you are taking spirulina, it's not a stimulant. What it's doing is improving the cellular energy. It's like putting a log on the fire. It's very slow, steady burn. And if you took 10 or 20 spirulina and you just sat on your sofa, you might not even notice any energy boost because it's at the cellular level. But if you did a workout, or you were driving, or you were focusing, suddenly you realize your focus was better, that you're not hungry anymore, that you've got a little more pep in your step. ATP, so this is the thing about cellular energy, which is known as ATP. It's not storable. It's used in the moment for whatever it is you're doing. So that's why when you take spirulina, it suddenly generates and speeds up the production of ATP. You have more energy at the cellular level. And therefore, if you're on a run or doing a workout, it is directed to that particular need of your body at that moment. But if your brain is being focused, that's where the ATP will be redirected. So having
And is it
more
instant when you're chewing these? Is it pretty instant? So for example, like say someone was driving and they were tired, they could start sort of having them.
Yep. If you chew them, they get into your body almost in seconds. This is one of the reasons why I like to chew them, because they get into your bloodstream sublingually, particularly spirulina, because no cellulose bacteria, no cellulose wall. So it gets into your bloodstream and then directed to where it needs to go in, like literally within seconds. With you swallowing it, it takes about 10 minutes maybe for it to truly be deployed and absorbed into your bloodstream. So it's sort of just to help people understand, it's almost bypasses digestion because it gets absorbed so quickly. And that's spirulina. Chlorella does take a little bit longer because it has that hard cellulose wall, and it takes literally an hour for if you swallow it. But I show people this little picture because it helps people understand animal protein is all bound up in amino acids, and it can take your body up to 3 days to break the animal protein down into these aminos so they can be absorbed. And then you have collagen powder that's in these clusters of smaller numbers of aminos called peptides. So they get absorbed faster, but then the algae tablets, both spirulina and chlorella, the aminos are already in individual aminos. So this is why it's such rapid absorption. And to put that in context to help you understand, well, how much do I need to take to equal a serving of animal protein? So let's say a fist size of chicken is about 50 grams of protein. But if you're only absorbing 10% because it took 3 days and you didn't have all the factors and cofactors, and you're on medication, or you're not digesting properly or absorbing properly, and this happens with a lot of people, that 50 grams of protein converts to only 10%, 10 grams of aminos. So because you've absorbed maybe only 10%. But with spirulina and chlorella, which has 64% protein and all the proteins in individual aminos, and spirulina gets absorbed instantly, when you take 5 grams of protein from the spirulina, you get 5 grams of aminos. It's 1-to-1 conversion because it's absorbed in the moment, and there's no degradation of the protein because it's already in aminos. So it's very efficient protein. By the way, if you're carnivore, this is for you too. A lot of people go carnivore because they have autoimmune, they had digestive issues, leaky gut, which is often caused by lectins and oxalates. Things like kale and spinach, almonds, by the way, have they're sharp proteins, these lectins and oxalates, and can puncture your stomach lining, which cause leakage of food and molecules into your bloodstream, and that can stimulate an autoimmune reaction. Well, algae doesn't have lectins or oxalates. And the reason why is that plants develop these lectins and oxalates as a defense mechanism to protect themselves from bugs and predators because it hurts their stomachs too. Well, algae came from the ocean. It's not a land plant. Never had to develop lectins or oxalates to protect itself. So this is why Dr. Stephen Gundry's had me on his podcast. He has a great book called the Plant Paradox, where he talks about how
he's been on the
plants
show actually here to talk about it.
And I love him. I met him about a month ago. I met him a couple of times, but we were all at this Biohack Yourself movie release that I'm in, he's in. But that's one of the reasons why he endorses algae as well, because there's no lectins or oxalates. And when we get to chlorella, I'll talk about the chlorophyll and how important it is. So you can still, and these antioxidants that we're going to talk about with mitochondria, this one called superoxide dismutase in particular, it's not found in meat or any animal plants, and in fact, it's not found in any other places. Period. So you're cheating yourself out of a great longevity health hack by not taking spirulina or chlorella algae. It is for every single lifestyle and food choice. Vegan, paleo, there's nothing more ancestral than algae. Carnivore, low carb, ketogenic, zero carbs. You can take it and you won't interfere with your intermittent fasting. I've been on Mindy Peltz's podcast, and she's she's an expert in fasting, and she says you can take this and you're not interfering with your fast, but you won't get hangry. So there is not a single thing that I can think of where this doesn't elevate and improve your whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's your longevity choices, you're improving your skin, improving your sleep, but they do different things. So spirulina is very much the energizing algae, and it's brain food. Why is it brain food? Because it has this nutrient in it called superoxide dismutase, which is an antioxidant. We'll get to that when we talk about mitochondria. And guess what? Your brain have the most mitochondria of all of your body parts. Think about it. There are 2 million mitochondria per cell in your brain. And your brain is very sensitive to oxidative stress because it's the highest concentration of fat. Your brain is 20% fat. And so it is very exposed to inflammation, ROS, and damage. And it needs protection. Your mitochondria need protection in your brain more than anywhere else in your body. And this superoxide dismutase does that for you. The phycocyanin also does that for you. It's proven to protect your telomeres. And when we talk about menopause and perimenopause, you're going to find out, because I've been doing some deep dives on this, who knew that estrogen acts as an antioxidant. And when you hit menopause, when you're 40 or perimenopause, your estrogen levels drop. So guess what? So does the antioxidant protection that it had provided. And this thing called superoxide dismutase, and we'll get to it in a minute, your body makes that for you too, from the moment you're born until the age of 30. And then it slowly drops. And by the time you hit 40, you have none. And this is exactly when chronic disease hits.
I'd seen with superoxide dismutase, I'd seen that people have a genetically different predisposition to how much they can produce, and I'd also seen research that you in terms of supplement form it wasn't effective, but here it's a food based, right? But I hadn't realized that regardless of genetics, actually you weren't producing it after 30. Well, I want to come back to the antioxidants, because what strikes me as interesting here before we jump over from the protein element is that this looks then to be a really good source of essential amino acids if you want something that's pre-workout to really fuel, both in terms of I'm thinking resistance training, but also high intensity interval training and being able to push yourself to the max and get those results. It strikes me as a really good thing that I'm going to be using it for.
Yeah. And in fact, years ago, we had so many Olympic teams using this product that when the Sochi Olympics were held in Russia, I sent 2 of my team over to the Olympic Games and we had the invitation for the U.S. Olympic Village and the Canadian, because I'm Canadian. And there's 50 testimonials you can still read on our website from athletes. We didn't pay them. In fact, they bought their own algae about whether they were an aerialist or a triathlete. This is the best fuel pre and post. Spirulina for pre-workout, chlorella for post-workout fuel period. The trouble with, especially with runners or distance runners, triathletes, they use gels and bars and drinks which are loaded with carbs and sugar, and they all get stomach distress, have gut issues, and none of that happens with spirulina or chlorella because there's zero sugar, zero caffeine, zero carbs, instantly absorbed. It's the fuel. It's the best fuel ever. I don't know of any other fuel that is ketogenic and vegan, by the way. So it's remarkable. And
it's true. It's remarkable.
When we get to the mitochondria part, the brain has the most. Second is actually women's eggs. Third is your heart. Fourth are your muscles. So for extending your career or just your life in general, you want to protect those muscles, and they have they have like 5,000 mitochondria per cell there too. So skin and fat they only have a small number, but
yeah,
it
let's
is
talk
the
about
best
that
fuel.
actually for mitochondria, because one of the things I'm always saying to my perimenopausal women is, how in perimenopause we see less DNA mitochondrial replication, and so this is like the battery packs of their cells, they're being affected.
Right.
It's actually really, really important, and we want to do the lifestyle measures, the right training, things like that, eating the right diet. Right. But yes, please share how spirulina affects.
Should I talk about chlorella first, so we compare the spirulina and chlorella, or we can do
chlorella I don't
later?
mind. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in both, for sure. Whichever order you think, you take us down whichever one you think is going to work better.
I'll just do a quick summary of spirulina and switch over to chlorella, and then we'll go back to the mitochondria, because spirulina is really the one for mitochondria. And that's why I call spirulina brain food, and you're going to find out that chlorella is really gut food. So again, spirulina, just to summarize, energizing, mentally, physically, satisfies your hunger, great for fasting, weight loss. If you're on a GLP-1, absolutely, because we want to protect that muscle. Great for fitness, workouts, energizing, and protecting the mitochondria, protecting and restoring them. So very much an energy-driven kind of algae. Chlorella, completely different. Doesn't satisfy your hunger, doesn't give you energy. It's a wellness algae. It helps, and it does this in a number of ways. It helps you recover your health, which is why we call ours ENERGYbits, and it's packaged in a green package because it's a green algae. Spirulina, again, is a blue algae. So how does it help your health? Well, number one, spirulina, as you know, as I mentioned, has the highest protein in the world. Chlorella has the highest chlorophyll in the world. That's why it's called chlorella, because of the chlorophyll. Why is chlorophyll so important, and why do we need it from algae? Well, first of all, our food supply, whether it's in America or UK or anywhere, is damaged. Our soils are so overcropped. Our vegetables, even if you are eating organic, just don't have the nutrients that they had 50 years ago, including chlorophyll. And so my arugula goes yellow after day 3. And so you're not getting the medicinal value from your chlorophyll. And yes, there's chlorophyll water, but why would you take chlorophyll water when you can take chlorella, which has 25 times more chlorophyll than chlorophyll water, and 500 times more chlorophyll than arugula. And what's so important about chlorophyll? Well, there's a couple of things. I'm showing you a picture. The chlorophyll and your hemoglobin are virtually the same chemical composition. Your hemoglobin is your red blood cells, and chlorophyll is virtually identical. So number one, chlorophyll builds your blood. And it's always been known to do that. Even as recently as World War II, if they ran out of blood for transfusions, they would give the injured liquid chlorophyll, and they would heal just as fast because it heals your blood, it builds your blood. And when you have healthy blood, you're going to have better nutrients and oxygen delivered to your brain and to your body. Just end of story. Chlorophyll also kills bacteria. Remember I talked about algae killing bacteria in the ocean? Well, chlorophyll is one of the key nutrients that does that and kills. If you chew either one of them, because of course green algae has some chlorophyll in it as well, it will kill the bacteria in your mouth, in your colon, everywhere. So chlorophyll is very well known for killing bacteria. So that's chlorella, first building your blood.
Can I ask a quick question on that in relation to the mouth? So if it's killing bacteria in the mouth, we're seeing a lot more coming out in terms of functional dentistry and the link between bacteria in the mouth and neurological disorders, but also cardiovascular disease. So would it be protective in terms of that?
Absolutely. So my tongue's always green because I chew mine. And by the way, kids love to chew them because of the same thing. They think it's hilarious that their tongues turn green. So moms, encourage your kids to chew them because they'll think it's fun. And it is. But Anyways, everyone at the office laughs at me because I'm always green. Just check your mirror because you'll always get a little bit of green on the corner of your mouth. But it absolutely kills bacteria in your mouth, protects your mouth. It's very alkalining, which is, I didn't get into the reason why I started this company. I wasn't planning on starting a company, but 16 years ago, my younger sister in Canada developed breast cancer, and her oncologist told her to change her diet to an alkaline diet because it would be important for her healing. Now, she didn't tell her what an alkaline diet was or why specifically it was good for her. So my sister called me because I love her, and I knew nothing about nutrition. Many of your listeners may know nothing either, but I said, I have no idea what this alkaline diet business is, but I'll find out. And it turned out to be mostly a plant-based diet for two reasons. One, plants have chlorophyll in them, and chlorophyll is very alkalining, and when your body needs your cells to, well, first of all, it builds your immune system and builds your blood. She wanted her to have a strong immune system when she was going through chemo. And number two, chlorophyll is very alkaline. And this is the doctor telling her to have an alkaline diet. Only in Canada, wouldn't have probably happened here in the United States. What's so important about an alkaline diet? Well, there was a German scientist by the name of Otto Warburg who won a Nobel Prize back in the 40s. He's in Germany for discovering that cancer cannot exist in cells that are slightly alkaline. The scale of alkalinity goes from 0 to 14. So you want your cells to be at 7.1, slightly alkaline, because that indicates there's oxygen in the cell, that they're communicating, that they're healthy, the mitochondria are working, and cancer cannot grow in that environment. It only grows in acidic environments. Well, I found, when kept researching, I gave her some suggestions, including algae. And she healed, by the way, completely. And then I kept learning more about plant-based diets. And this was 15, 16 years ago. Nobody was talking about it. So I found the science, how powerful it was, that somebody needs to tell the world about this. I gave up my 25-year corporate career, went back to school, got a health coaching certificate from a school called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. I taught plant-based nutrition for a year at hospitals and corporations. And this is what led me truly to algae, because I was only wanting to help my sister get better. That's all I wanted to do. And I thought, well, I can help more people. I found that people know they should eat more greens, but it was too hard. They gave them gas, or they went bad quickly, or they didn't have time, or their kids wouldn't eat. And that's when I said to myself, I got to find a way to get this green nutrition into people in a way that's effortless. And I went back to everything that I'd found for my sister. And when I found out that algae was alkaline, most nutrient dense food in the world, scientifically documented, endorsed by international agencies, that's when I decided that algae was going to be my path, and I was going to bring it to the world. But it all started because of this alkalinity situation, and chlorophyll is very alkalining, and you can't find more chlorophyll anywhere in the world than in Chlorella algae. Second is in spirulina. So it's way more than chlorophyll water, which is good for you, but with chlorophyll water, you're only getting chlorophyll. With chlorella, you're getting 60% protein, 40 vitamins and minerals, including the ones that, still have like superoxide dismutase in it. So very, very healing to have chlorophyll. So again, chlorella has the highest. But the real cool part about chlorella algae, which makes it completely different from spirulina, is it has that cellulose wall. And in fact, it is the hardest cellulose wall in the entire plant kingdom. And what does that cellulose wall do? It's a miracle, but it attaches to toxins, heavy metals, glyphosate, pesticides, absolutely everything. It leaves all the good stuff there. It does not attach to magnesium, potassium, all the good minerals. In fact, it's loaded with electrolytes, has 40 vitamins and minerals, and it chelates them. So it attaches and pulls them out. This is really, really important because the average adult in America has been found to have 700 toxins in them. And our immune systems simply were not built to support that type of toxic load. So doing a detox once a year is not enough. Once a month, not enough. Once a week. You need to be pulling them out every single day, because we don't live in bubbles. We are exposed to toxins daily, and they accumulate. I came up with a great analogy because I realized, one toxin may not be deadly, but layered on the other toxin and the other toxin. Think of, if in there's rainstorm, if you put a glass of water out there, one drop doesn't do a lot in the glass, but one drop here, one drop there. But if you wait long enough, that glass is full. Well, that's what's happening to our body. We're getting a little drop of toxin here, a little drop of toxin there, a little drop of toxin, and our bodies are just full. Think of a fish bowl that you haven't changed the water in for a while. Poor Goldie is going to die because that water is murky and toxic to the fish. Your body is full of toxins, and we need to get them out of there because they lodge in your cell walls. They interfere with cellular communication. They prevent absorption of nutrients. We can be putting all the great, powerful nutrients in from spirulina, but if the toxins are sitting there, sort of like someone is taking your parking spot, the nutrients can't get in. It's a twofer. So this is why spirulina works for the nutrition and the mitochondria health. Chlorella pulls out the toxins. It's like having a snowplow. I know you have snow in the UK, but it clears the way so the nutrition can get in, right? So they work very well together. And by the way, chlorella has all the nutrients in it that your immune system needs. There's about 40, at least 10 critical ones, zinc and vitamin A and chlorophyll is one of them. And they're all in the chlorella. And your immune system is predominantly in your gut. 80% of your immune system is there. And part of it is also your gut biome, and your bacteria need fiber to have a healthy biosis, and chlorella has that fiber. So it's pulling out toxins throughout your body. It's the chlorophyll is killing bacteria. It's building your blood. It's nourishing your immune system. It's nourishing your gut biome, and they've been using chlorella for IBS and Crohn's disease for decades. So this is why chlorella. And by the way, the other cool thing, chlorella has the highest concentration of tryptophan, which is a precursor to melatonin, which helps you sleep. And so the chlorella, this is why one of the reasons we recommend chlorella before bed. You can take it any time of day. I have it all day long, in the morning, afternoon, but definitely take it before bed, and I do too, because it will help you get into a deeper sleep because it's triggering that melatonin. As you get older, you have less melatonin. So that's number one. Number two, your body goes through a detox repair cycle while you are sleeping. So when you're sleeping, you have chlorella in your body, it's like having the cleanup crew in there pulling out the aluminum out of your brain. Your brain has its own, it's called the lymphatic system. It's a cleaning system. So it's going to be much more efficient. It has something in it called chlorella growth factor, which speeds up the growth of your own cells. It stimulates stem cell release. So all of this is going on while you're sleeping, and you're going to find out that's why sleep is my number 2 hack. Algae number 1, sleep number 2. And on top of that, the other thing you need to know is you got to get rid of what I call your junk in your trunk. The things that are sitting in your colon are things that your body didn't want. So putting the nourishment in is a very important part of health and longevity. Pulling the stuff out that your body doesn't want is the other side of the coin. And chlorella stimulates what's called peristalsis, which is a bowel movement. So people who are eating too much dairy, too much processed foods, a lot of gluten, if you're on medication, if you're not drinking enough water, if you're traveling, I've just sort of summed up about, and if you're over 50 or 60, there's about 95% of the population. Most of those people are constipated, which means they're not having a regular bowel movement every day, or it's a difficult bowel movement. That problem goes away with chlorella. So this is why
taking
I say
it at night would give you a nice bowel movement the following
in the morning. Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder if it's like if it has tryptophan, so it's a precursor right to melatonin. Then the step before that is serotonin. Is it also like something you could take in the morning to help boost your mood, for example?
Good question. I don't know that. I do know that spirulina is the algae that's being used for depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, brain fog. And most of that is because all of those issues are related to damaged mitochondria. And spirulina is the algae that heals the mitochondria. So for any kind of mood issue, spirulina for sure. And I'd have to look at the concentration of the serotonin to find that out. But I had a text this morning from a gentleman who's I was on his podcast, but he's a teacher, and he's been giving the spirulina to his 2 kids who are 5 and 8, and he said, and who both have ADD, and since they've been taking the spirulina in particular, he wrote me this text, and we're going to share it on our social media. His kids' math and reading skills have shot through the roof. Mothers, if you have kids with who are on the spectrum, or if you or them have ADD,
I have a child on the spectrum, so I'm keen to test
absolutely this. Get them on spirulina today, as fast as you can. You will see a difference in a very short order, because of and we have science, we have some papers. I'll try to find the papers about that. And even anecdotally, we've had lots of coaches coaching kids at school, either on the spectrum or ADD, and their focus improves like 500%. Because the brain is functioning better again. The mitochondria, which the highest concentration are in your brain, control the neurotransmitters. In fact, part of the issue with I'm on a podcast or a summit soon for multiple sclerosis. It heals the myelin sheaths, which protect the nerve pathways for the neurotransmitters to make the connection. So, and they have mitochondria in them too. And if they get damaged because they're overloaded with toxins from metals or whatever, they get damaged and they can't function. So the myelin gets damaged. And so the pathways get ruined and the neurotransmitters can't get through and nothing works properly. But if we can start healing the mitochondria, the first thing where they get healed are in the brain. And we've had people who have had Alzheimer's who forgot to start, they stopped taking them. And then they said, we have testimonies from them too. They couldn't remember where they lived. They couldn't work the microwave. And within 24 hours, you don't have to wait long, it starts working again. So I'm just telling you, the stuff works. It's not a drug. It's a food.
It's a food, yeah. I think which is
raw,
the super
food.
Exciting thing.
It's crazy what this stuff. I can't honestly. If there wasn't so much science about it, I would be. I was disbelieving. I was disbelieving for 4 years. That's why it took me so long to get really going. Is that this can't be possible? If this is so great, why don't people know about it? And here's why people don't know about it. First of all, it's all 99% of it's grown in Asia. That's Taiwan, China, Korea, whatever, not in large scale in America or anywhere in the UK or anywhere in the world. So you don't see it driving to work, going to school. It's not part of your vernacular. That's number one. Number two, the people that know about all these things that I'm telling you about are scientists. The scientists know all this. And we know that scientists have a hard time talking to people who aren't scientists because they're so caught up in jargon. And so when I started down this path, literally, I told the universe, find somebody else. I don't come from a science background. Find somebody who knows science. But I was the right person because I know what it feels like not to know the science. I taught myself all the science, and then I went and got a PhD to confirm for myself and for others that I do know what I'm talking about. So, and I enjoy taking this complex science and helping people understand it. Because if I can't help you understand it, you don't know what it's going to do in your body. And we aren't taught how our bodies function. We know how to run work our cell phone and our car, but not our bodies. And it's just like a recipe. If you know what your body needs and we show you how to get the ingredients, if you use those ingredients, you'll bake the best cake or whatever it is you're cooking. Your body will respond. I promise you, your body will respond. But no one's told you what it needs or why or how it works in a way that you can understand, and takes the mystery and fear. Let's face it, we fear things that we don't understand. So I want to take the mystery away so that you aren't fearful, and that you can, and then you can dig into Google and read these PubMed articles if you want, like I have for the last 15 years. But if you don't want to, I'm here to help you understand it.
Catherine, can we talk about the beauty benefits and collagen benefits and elastin? You and I were talking about that and how young looking your skin is, because this is it's always nice, right? If we want to be biologically younger and we want to have this high energy and everything, it's also nice to look good while doing it. So tell us about how it can help in that sense. And is that the chlorella or the spirulina or the combination?
Probably the combination, and I'll explain why. So your skin is made of collagen and elastin. Think of collagen as sort of in a building, it's sort of the puffy stuff that fills in all the holes around the framing. And we need collagen, and our collagen production drops as we get older, like everything. And I'll explain why that's happening. So and yes, you can take collagen powder, but collagen powder is actually not as pure as they make it out to be, because it's made from melted down bones and hides from animals and fish and whatever, and they use chemicals to melt it down, and so it's not sustainable, and there is chemicals in there. So if you're and algae, and I did the analysis, algae has more collagen, which are basically peptides. It has up to 400% more than aminos than collagen, not on every amino, but up to 400%. It has more collagen than collagen powder, and it's a sustainable crop, and it's food, and it's unprocessed. So collagen gives you that sort of puffy, filled in look. I don't use any fillers. I don't use Botox. I never have. So that's why my skin is sort of puffy. And then the wrinkles aren't there either in my skin, because the other thing, remember I mentioned collagen, then you have elastin. Elastin is like the structure. It's like the scaffolding that the collagen is filling in. So elastin is damaged by a number of things. Free radicals, right? Also, excess calcium damages your elastin, also excess sun exposure. But if you have too much, and most people have too much calcium, why? Because they aren't taking a vitamin called vitamin K2. So for the collagen, spirulina has the highest concentration of protein and collagen, so that's for the collagen. For the protection of the elastin, I would recommend chlorella, because it has the daily requirement of this thing called vitamin K2. Now, most people don't know what about vitamin K2 is, so I'm going to give you a quick explanation. You know what K1 is? It's in anything that's green. Well, there's also this vitamin called K2, which is related to K1, but completely different. Now, humans, you could eat a roomful of spinach or kale, which is loaded with K1. You will not get a drop of K2, because we can't convert K1 to K2. However, animals like cattle can. They have this extra bacteria. So when they eat grass, they convert the K1 into K2. And up until the 60s, when we were eating beef, they were all the animals were raised on pastures. So we were getting the K2 because we were eating the animal-fed, grass-fed animal protein. In the late 60s, early 70s, the farmers realized, gosh, if I feed my cattle corn and put them in an enclosure, they're going to get fat a lot faster, and I'll make a lot of money a lot faster. The supply of K2 in our diet disappeared overnight. What K2 does is it moves excess calcium, which when you take calcium, it deposits itself, if you don't have K2, in what's called soft tissue. That's your brain, your skin, your arteries, your organs, and it leads to arteriosclerosis. What is that? Hardening of the arteries. What's one of the things that's hardening? Calcium. It damages your elastin in your skin, and that leads to wrinkles, because the elastin's damaged, so it sinks, and that causes wrinkles. And you can buy K2 supplements, but they are made from fermented chickpeas. And K2 is a very complicated nutrient. There's all these M4, M5, different types. And the type that's in algae is the same type that's in animal protein, or natto, which is a Japanese dish. And it can get into all of your body parts, including your brain. The type that you get from fermented chickpeas can get everywhere except into your brain. For whatever reason, it can't get through there. So I tell people, well, don't you want K2 that's going to go everywhere? So this is really important. Spirulina does have some K2, but chlorella has more. So the protein and the collagen fills your collagen. The K2 protects your elastin. They're both alkaline, which can, blemishes other than hormonal blemishes. Blemishes are often bacteria gathering on your skin, and the alkalinity of from the chlorophyll neutralizes those breakouts. Also, chlorophyll acts as a natural sun protector. So we've had Irish girls working with us who normally could not go out for 5 minutes without getting a sunburn. They were taking the chlorella, and they were having natural sun protection. So those are a couple of things for the beauty. By the way, your hair is made of keratin, and that's mostly protein. So it builds your hair. Again, this is all my hair. Somebody says, "Is that your hair, or do you have extensions?" No, it's all me. It's kind of rainy day here in Miami today, so it's a little crazy. But it also helps with your eyesight. Helps with your skin or your teeth because of the killing of the bacteria. So really terrific.
Quick question
it's
on
beauty
the protein.
From the inside is what it is.
Yeah, from the inside out. Quick question on the protein, because I had this from my community. So you were saying that it's 3 times more bioavailable than the protein in meat. If we look at, for example, someone who's who's monitoring their protein, which a lot of like my perimenopausal women and postmenopausal women will be doing that because they're aware they need more protein.
Yes.
When we think about taking something like essential amino acids, they're more bioavailable than, say, digesting protein from meat or
Correct.
chicken. And we take around, say, 5 to 10 grams. What would we, if we want to have protein to fuel a workout or to recover from a workout or to take it as a dose of protein, how much spirulina or chlorella or both would we need to take?
Yeah, great question. So as I mentioned, 10 tablets is just for fulfilling nutritional gaps or getting your immune health. If you want a meal replacement, if you want a really great workout, because we do sell them in these little pouches that have 30 tablets, 30 would give you 30 spirulina could be like a lunch. 1 calorie, by the way. 30 calories.
1 calorie in 30.
1 calorie per tablet.
Per tablet. Okay, so
if
only
you took
30 calories.
30
Yes,
for lunch, that's 30 calories. You won't be hungry. You're not going to be stuffed like as if you'd had a big pizza or spaghetti dish or something. Who should be, we don't want that anyways. But you won't be hungry, and you'll be focused, and you'll have energy for 3 or 4 hours. And if you want a great workout, probably 30. But if for working out, maybe 15 would be good. 20. And in hardcore workouts, if you're doing a marathon or a 5K, take the full 30 beforehand. And same with the chlorella. For post-workout, 15 would be good enough. 30 would be better. By the way, one of the toxins I didn't mention that it pulls out is alcohol. It doesn't matter whether it's beer, wine, spirits, but you do need the full 30. So for therapeutic, for just filling in immune health and chlorophyll, nutrients, 10 is fine. But for therapeutic purposes, you need, or best benefits, 20 or 30 of each, and you need the 30 for sure for the toxin for detox. So lots of people still like to have a glass of wine with dinner. And as you get older, your body has a greater difficulty processing and eliminating that alcohol. So this is why you wake up with a hangover. You will be sober in an hour and a half if you take this, because it takes about an hour and a half to fully deploy in your body with chlorella. Remember, spirulina is like 10 minutes. This is an hour and a half.
Yeah, I realize actually chlorella is amazing for alcohol detox.
It's unbelievable. And you're still getting the chlorophyll, the vitamin K2, you're getting the protein. This is why it's like the one-stop wonder. And if there wasn't so much science proving all this stuff, like you may take this because you don't want to have a hangover, but you're also going to build your immune system, pull out toxins from your brain, help your elastin or better. You're stimulating your bowel movements. You're killing bacteria in your mouth. I mean, it's just never ending. You take it for one reason, there's about 1,000 other benefits that you get from it.
Catherine, how I'm going to use it, and I think my audience, if you're listening, because we've had Dr. Stacey Sims on the show a few times talking about how women really do need to prioritize protein before workout. And then I have my community who are like, 5 a.m. workout buddies like me, because it's the time of day you can fit it in, and you're like, I don't really want to have anything. And what strikes me is this is just going to be super good to keep in my car on the way to the gym in the morning, because I don't feel like I'm going to be eating food, but I can get it in easily. Because I'm often asked that, how am I going to get 15 grams of protein in pre-workout to protect and have more of that anabolic stimulus? And this just seems like a super easy way to do that.
And it's great on an empty stomach. No stomach distress, period, ever, 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 ever. And if you took 30, again, that's the 5 grams of protein, but it's like 50 of animal protein because of the efficiency and the absorption. So that's why I call spirulina your nutritional insurance, because it gives your body absolutely everything, your muscles, your brain, mitochondria, everything it needs. And I call chlorella your health insurance, because it pulls out toxins and builds your immune system and protects you from just about anything. So and I travel a lot, and I made this analogy the other day too, and somebody liked it. And I said, I sometimes in my hotels, I get room service in the morning, and I'm nourished and ready for the day out to go. And I thought, oh, that's for like spirulina. It nourishes you, energizes you, you're ready for the day. And then I come back later on, and my room is all clean, my bed is made, everything's nice and clean and tidy. And I thought, oh, that's sort of like chlorella. It pulls out all the toxins, it cleans you all up. So it's sort of like housekeeping. So spirulina is like room service. Chlorella is like housekeeping.
Housekeeping. I love that analogy. And what about, before you go, last one, because you mentioned the essential fatty acids, like, does this then negate the need for supplementing with something like omega-3, for example? or would you still do that? Tell us a bit more
Well,
about the fatty
yeah.
acid.
Everybody's different, but the one thing I would ask people is to stop taking fish oil, because by the time you get it, most of it's already oxidized, which means it's rancid. And so it's going to be inflammatory instead of anti-inflammatory. Omega-3s are really, really important for your brain. That's why we eat cold, fatty fish. But part of that fatty fish benefit it comes from the omega-3. And I tell people, where do you think the fish get the omega-3 from? They get it from algae. They just consolidate it in their body. So you can save the oceans and the fish and yourself by just getting your omega-3 from spirulina. Now, when you look at the amount of omega-3, it doesn't compare to an omega-3 supplement. By the way, there are also now plant-based omega-3s if you want to also continue taking omega-3, but not from a fish oil, because fish oil, I can't take it. I tried for years. I kept burping it up. It wasn't for me. It doesn't happen with the plant-based ones. But you'll see the numbers don't quite match up. But part of the reason is there's other fatty components to the spirulina in particular. Now, one of them is an essential fatty acid called GLA, which stands for gamma-linolenic acid, which is technically an omega-6. And normally we know, omega-6s we want to stay away from. Please stay. Absolutely, you're absolutely right. Seed oils, which are terrible for you, and they're so inflammatory, particularly because they're so overprocessed. However, GLA on its own, if it's unprocessed, is as powerful for your brain as an omega-3. And proof of that is that the only place that has more GLA than spirulina is, drumroll, mother's breast milk. Now, why would Mother Nature put GLA in mother's breast milk? Because it is critical for helping the baby's brain develop. And if it wasn't good for you, it wouldn't be there. And so it too has not been processed or heated with high heat. Now, because we don't use high heat to dry our algae, our GLA behaves like an omega-3. It has the anti-inflammatory properties. But once again, if you buy the lesser expensive algae that has been exposed to high heat, you're missing the superoxide dismutase, you're missing the phycocyanin that has the property of killing cancer, and you're not getting proper GLA because it's been exposed to high heat, so now it's inflammatory. So the GLA is very important and beefs up that fatty component. The other thing I'm sure nobody knows about, and I was stunned to find this out, is that chlorophyll, which is a pigment, and it's the green pigment exclusively in chlorella, and it's one of the pigments in the blue-green algae. Chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment. And I did experiments. I don't have the picture here, but I can send them to you. I used to put the blue spirulina in a dish, and a beautiful blue Aegean Sea color would disperse evenly through the water. It was gorgeous. And then I would put the chlorella in a dish with water, and it would just clump, and it would be green, it would be clumping, but not, I'd say, why aren't you dispersing like your brother over here? It looks beautiful. I finally went online and found out that chlorophyll is a fat-based pigment. And so it is as helpful as an omega-3 or GLA because it's fat-based. So it heals the cell walls and heals the brain, just like all these other omegas do. And nobody talks about that. But you're not getting medicinal amounts of chlorophyll from any of our food anymore because it's just not there because our soils are so damaged. But you get it from the algae. So this is, again, you can't compare apples and apples when you're comparing supplements, whether it's a fish oil or an omega-3 and algae, because algae is the orchestra. It has all these synergies in it that up level, and you never have to worry about taking this algae with or without anything. Like certain supplements work better, absorb better when you take it with certain types of foods. It's already it's all one and done. It's done for you. You don't have to think about it. Just open your mouth and take it. That's it. That's why I also love algae, because when people are saying, well, I'm going to try a paleo diet or a keto diet or something, and they have to learn all these different food groups and they have to change their supply. You don't have to change anything if you don't want to. Just add the spirulina and the chlorella to that's it. Just add it daily. Now, this is a daily thing. By the way, when you take it, there's so many nutrients, so many minerals, so many other benefits to it. You'll find you need fewer supplements, maybe none at all. Although I personally, the only supplement I take in addition to algae is actually vitamin C, because there's not much vitamin C in either of them. So that would be the one thing that I take.
The one thing.
But that's the only thing I take.
To close, because I know you have, I want to mention just to make sure, so if people have it, because you've very kindly given our audience 20% off if they go to ENERGYbits.com and enter code Foster,
Yes.
which is very generous of you. What would be the ideal? So the cadence is daily. We should be taking this daily. You've mentioned to us like the benefits of taking those tablets pre-workout. Apart from that, would it be, I think it sounds like chlorella at night, which is going to help with detoxification and that lymphatic system and health of the brain, and then a bowel movement in the morning, and then spirulina for energy in the morning. What
Yes.
would be,
Or
how many
lunch
should we
or
be
afternoon.
taking? Or lunchtime, how
Yes.
many should we be taking?
Yeah, well, it depends on what your purpose is. So if you're filling just nutritional gaps and 10 spirulina in the morning and 10 chlorella for just wellness benefits would be sufficient. If you are looking to have a meal replacement or for improved fitness activities, 50, closer to 15 or 20 spirulina before the workout, and 15 or 20 after. And for therapeutic, if you have a health condition, had a health condition, don't want it to be recurring, want to protect yourself from a health condition, 30 spirulina throughout, try to take 10 or 15 at a time, because that's when you'll notice a difference. And 30 of the chlorella. And you can cycle in and out of the chlorella if you don't want to take 30. You can do 30 for a week and then take 10 for the next week and then back up to 30. Although honestly, it's like giving your body a shower from the inside. So when you take chlorella, because it just pulls everything out that shouldn't be there. So and it not only replaces supplements, you never have to eat another vegetable again in your life if you don't like them, can't have access to them, don't like throwing them out, don't like fighting with your kids or your husbands, are traveling, can't get access. This does everything that a vegetable does, because it is a vegetable. It offers you the plant fiber. It stimulates peristalsis, which people take fiber for stimulating that. This gives you everything. So, and yet it never goes bad. You can travel with it. You can't really well travel with broccoli in your pockets when you're on a plane. So this replaces vegetables. This replaces protein, supplements. Your food bill will go down. My food bill it's crazy. Because I love this stuff and I do eat real food. But so yeah, 10 and 10 for just nutritional insurance, health insurance, improved performance, lunch, 15 or 30, improved recovery or detox, 15 to 30 would be my recommendation. And the best value, by the way, is in the bags. There's 1,000 tablets, and with the discount code, it brings the price, which is normally $130 per bag, down to $104. So here's the cool thing. If you are taking 10 a day, a bag will last you 3 months, and it works out to $1 a day. $1 a day for spirulina, $1 a day for chlorella. Everyone in the world can afford $1 a day, and it will replace so many other things. And we have other cool packaging types, by the way. We have these I designed everything too, so just in case you're wondering. We have these really cool canisters that come with a bag inside, and look, they have a little opening. So you open the bag, you put the tablets in your canister, and then you just shake them out through the opening so you don't have to put your hand in. And then when you run out of tablets, you simply buy another bag and fill it up again. So you only buy a canister once, and then you replenish with the bags. And we also have these smaller pouches that I've been showing you that come in boxes. They're terrific for traveling. And your discount code Foster works on everything, all the packaging types, all the brands. And forever. You don't have to rush out. And if you're in the United States and you don't want to make a big financial commitment to one of these larger packaging types, you can go to Amazon, buy a single pouch for $6, try it out, and then come back to the website and use your 20% discount code, because it only works on our website, ENERGYbits.com. But honestly, for simplicity, scientific proof, people in Asia have been using this for 60 years, international endorsements. Algae is the food of the future. You might as well learn about it now, because it's going to save you, your health, your children's health. It will protect you, your pets. You don't have to worry about, there's no drug interactions of any kind. It's it's almost a miracle. I was actually in St. Petersburg a couple of weeks ago, and I found the big statue that says the Fountain of Youth, and I took a picture of it. I'll send it to you. To me, this is the Fountain of Youth, and I'm going to be in this holding pattern for another 50 years of looking and feeling great. And I just tell people it's never too late to feel great. And if you get older, you either get better or bitter. Right? I read that somewhere. You get better or bitter.
Yeah.
We want you to get better. So algae's here for you. It wants to help you. It's standing by. And we didn't get to the mitochondria piece. Maybe I can come back and give you a deep dive on that, because that's unbelievable. The science is crazy.
I think we should for sure do that actually separately, because the mitochondria piece sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, just the benefits you've said in terms of like, you had me at beauty, to be honest, now. Looking at you and the way your skin looks, but also just like the pre-workout, that's been something I've been struggling with. I know that I should be having something. I don't feel like it. And so did, many of my audience tell me I don't feel like it at 5 a.m., and the recovery benefits, the night, as someone who's, my mom has Alzheimer's, I'm looking to protect that, the effects on the lymphatic system, it's incredible, Catherine. And there's just the fact that there's 100,000 studies on this, and NASA's deemed it the most highly nutrient food. I knew that I just had to get you on to talk about it, because why don't more people know about it? Well, we're doing our bit to help Sharon.
I know people thought I was some crazy woman 15 years ago. Finally, because I just refused to give up. This is my path. The universe chose me. I am not going to let the universe down. I am not going to let women down. We have to look after ourselves. I started this to help my sister recover, and I just kept going. And I'm proof of what this stuff does. I mean, I got my PhD when I was 68. Who does that, right?
Amazing.
So
that's incredible.
We do not have to decline as we age. We're going to age, but why not improve as we age? It's absolutely possible, doable, but you need the recipe, and you need the ingredients, and you need them explained to you. And so that's what I'm doing. And I get such joy helping people feel better, live longer, and especially women, because we do so much. And when we get to the mitochondria, I'll tell you one little thing. Women, we do so much, and we're always in the behind the scenes and not getting the credit for doing the family, the office. Well, guess what? Your mitochondria, the DNA for your mitochondria, are all from the women. Your regular DNA, half from men, half from women. Mitochondria, they're behind the scenes. They're doing everything for you.
I mean, this is interesting. We should talk. Let's come back, talk about mitochondria, and talk about the impact for women who are thinking about having a child, right? And fertility and all of that, because as you say, you inherit it from your mother. It's just profound. Amazing. We will link to that, ENERGYbits.com. Foster for 20% off. It's been absolutely fascinating. And when you're taking it, just share with us. Share how you're getting on with this. Share how your skin's looking, right? It's going to be clearer, younger, amazing, more energy. Thank you so much, Catherine, for coming on the show.
Well, thank you, Angela. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a joy. Thank you.